I don't like where this is going. Stop! No, 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 no!
So Konami has officially announced that in just a few days' time, the first ever Master Duel event will be dropping, Xyz Festival. As you could probably gather from the name, the event is going to be based around Xyz summoning. It's basically just going to be your standard Yu-Gi-Oh!, only your extra deck's going to be locked into Xyz monsters only. Now my first thought after reading this was, damn, can't wait for the Eldritch Festival. But after I stopped being a pessimistic little shit and regained some faith in humanity, I realised something. I don't actually have an Xyz deck built. I have plenty of decks that include Xyz monsters, but I don't have a deck that's just built around them. So that's why I created today's video. So here's the deck list. Now before I go through the list, just a reminder that if you're enjoying any of the content you are watching or find any of it useful, to please drop a like on the video down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. I make a buttload of content on Master Duel, including free to play builds, meta stuff, memes, guides, basically everything, so if you're interested in any of that stuff, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Alright, so Numeron is by far the easiest deck I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and I'm not exaggerating. This deck does one thing and one thing only. Search out your field spell, Numeron Network, using cards like Planet Pathfinder or Numeron Wall. Activate your field spell by sending Numeron Calling to the grave to copy its effect, which special summons 4 Xyz monsters straight to the board. Now all these Xyz monsters have the exact same effect. Whenever they attack an opponent's monster, the attack of all Numeron monsters on board is doubled. So simply the goal is to attack into your opponent's monsters until you have a board of 8k beat sticks, and by that point, most of the time your opponent is pretty dead. If your opponent doesn't die on that turn, you have a couple of options, as keep in mind your Xyz monsters are banished during the end phase, so you can't just leave them on the board. You can either special summon a powerful Link 4 like Apollousa, which is pretty good if you're forced to go first, or Avramax, which can't be targeted, can't be beaten over, and when removed, gets to shuffle a card back into the deck. Or if you did manage to get some damage through, you can try and summon Numeron Chaos Gate Sunya. This card on summon banishes all monsters on board, including itself. Then, during your next standby phase after this card was banished, you can special summon it back to the board, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of all banished Xyz monsters. The rest of the deck is pretty obvious stuff to try and support this strategy. As you're going second, you are running as much back removal and hand traps as you can, as well as Kaiju style tribute special summons to remove as many negation monsters as your opponent tries to summon, and also give you monsters to crash your Numerons into to double their attack. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the decklist portion of the video. The rest of the video will be gameplay with commentary showcasing the list in action. Remember, if you're enjoying the video or finding any of the content useful, to please drop a like down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. Enjoy the gameplay. Alright, let's get into it. So today I have 4 replays to show you guys. Now keep in mind, as this deck is very one-dimensional in how it plays, it's kind of hard to get like some super variety in how these replays went. I tried to make sure to get 4 replays that were at least a little bit different from each other, but as the game plan is mostly the same every time, don't expect some like drastically different replays or anything like that. This deck is the easiest deck I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's definitely the most one-dimensional. Alright. That being said though, it's actually not a bad deck. I did climb a rank with it, and I've seen plenty of people reach Plat 1 with it. It's easily a top tier, not top tier, it's easily a, like, top contender in the game, it's just not a top tier deck. Alright, so first thing we do is activate Maxx when our opponent tries to special summon some monsters, so drawing cards, we like free card draw. Gives us more outs to potential bullshit he tries to summon. He summoned a Kraken. Now Kraken has an annoying effect, I kind of forget what it is exactly, but whatever it is, it doesn't particularly matter because we have a Kaiju in hand. So he didn't do anything else there, probably scared of Maxx. Does set a torrential tribute though, but we have Twin Twisters so we can remove that. Then we can summon our Kaiju straight to his board, tributing his monster. Searching out our Numeron Network sends Numeron Calling to the grave, summoning 4 Xyz monsters. Going into the battle phase, swinging into the Kaiju, doubling the attack, swinging again, doubling the attack, swinging again, doubling the attack again, till we have an 8,000 attack monster on board where we can just swing straight in for lethal. Now that is the general OTK this deck will do. As you can see, very quick games. So if you're the kind of person that likes quick games, doesn't like too much brain power being used, this deck is perfect for you. Alright, next replay. So I think the other replays, I didn't quite do that OTK, I just tried to do something a little bit different. Or I was forced to do something a little bit different. Because quite often this deck won't actually be able to do the OTK on turn 1, or when it goes second, so you have to try to work around that a little bit. Alright, I forget what this guy was playing. Oh yeah, this is the Toon guy. So normally I wouldn't have kept this replay because I don't really like keeping replays against decks that I think are, you know, not the greatest. I don't mind some memeier decks, but decks that are like really bad, like Toons, I wouldn't really like to keep replays like that. But either way, I kept this one for one specific lethal this deck did, or this replay did. So you're going to be negating his little effect there with the hand trap, cards getting sent to the grave. Oh yeah, so something to keep in mind with this hand trap here, don't use it during your turn. This hand trap is useful during your opponent's turn to negate stuff, but if you use it during your turn, you'll actually summon monsters to the board, and then you can't use your Numeron Network. So keep that in mind. Don't use the this hand trap during your turn. Oh yeah. Alright, so activate Numeron Network. Summon 4 Xyz monsters straight to the board. Now as you can see, when your opponent doesn't actually have a monster on board, you can't actually lethal them. So maybe I should have left, maybe the correct play there was to let my opponent summon with this, then summon the Kaiju on it so I could at least try and lethal him. But, yeah. We know he has a negation for when he has a Toon on board anyway over here, so... Instead, we're going to use all our cards being main phase 2 to link summon out Crusadia Avramax, which is a very powerful link monster. This card, if your opponent ever tries to battle into it with basically anything, it will just take the attack of the opponent's monster, add it to it, and destroy it. So he can't really be beaten over, and he can't be targeted either. So very strong card. And if he is removed, he can shuffle something back into the deck. Unfortunately, our opponent had... Oh no, he actually Lightning Vortexes the back row. Doesn't want me to use the field spell again, I guess. Toons do have a rather annoying playstyle though, since they summon these like Toon guys that with the Toon World on board, you can't really destroy them, they're a bit annoying. But thankfully we have Kaiju, so we can distribute over that. Forget to activate Avramax's effect, so we don't get the 2700 damage done to him, or the 3k damage done to him. Bit dumb. But we'll just pretend I used my effect there, alright? We'll just pretend. Summons out another stone. Searching for a Toon Dark Magician Girl. We can attack directly. Now the goal here is I want him to use, because I can't actually use my Numeron Network's effect to send the cards to the graveyard to summon the 4 guys when there is a monster on board. So my aim here is to try to get this monster off the board, and I know he has a counter trap down here that will remove this. So, I swing in, activate its effect. He activates his counter trap, destroying my monster, which is fine by me, because it also, like I said earlier, shuffles it back into the deck. Or gets a shuffle slide back into the deck, sorry. Destroys it, shuffle slide back into the deck, getting with the Toon. Then we can activate our Lightning Storm, blasting his stuff. He very kindly banishes one of my Xyz monsters, which is rather nice of him, because it allows me to do something which you're about to see in a second. Well, assists with it anyway. Numeron Network, summon all the boys back, then using our Numeron 1, we can summon out Numeron C1. He banishes everything on the board, and then during my turn he'll resummon himself and do a bit of burn damage based on how many Xyz monsters are banished. So he comes back again. And murks my opponent for 4000 damage. So that's why I saved that replay was mostly just for that 4,000 damage destruction thing, or burn damage there, which I don't think it had many gameplays where that happened. Because a lot of the time when you try to play this deck, you can't really go for that OTK, that little bit of burn damage OTK at the end there, because a lot of the time your opponent will just likely be able to resummon like a negate or something, or just have some kind of disruption, and then you summon this monster, your opponent disrupts it, and you just have nothing left. So I find it's often better just to summon out, you know, your big link monsters or whatever, so. Either way. Alright. Forget what this guy was playing too. Oh yeah, this guy I think was playing a mirror match. Or what I thought was a mirror match. He chose to go first, by the way, so he wasn't playing an exact mirror, he was playing, I think, Eldritch. So he summons out this big boy, he gets him to draw 1 billion cards, sets 2 and passes the turn. Thankfully for me, I have Twin Twisters and Double Lightning Storm, so I'm not too scared of this back row stuff. Sorry, my throat's a bit dry, so just getting a drink. Lightning Storm murking his back row. He did get to summon himself a Golden Lord though. But the good advantage of this Saria guy is, his link arrows also point to my board, meaning whenever I summon a monster in front of it, it gains the attack. Now you may think, 300 attack? That's nothing. What am I going to do with an extra 300 attack? Well, you see, it isn't the original attack that gets doubled, it's just the attack. So that 300 becomes 600? 1200? 2400? Yeah, and he realised what was about to happen to him, so he conceded instantly. Very nice. Alright, final replay, I think. Alright. So this is a replay where I actually had to go first. A bit rough. My opponent activates Ash Blossom, stopping me from just being able to search. But that's okay, because we already had it in hand anyway, so we don't really care. We're just doing that for deck thinning anyway. Summoning out our 4 boys, and using those 4 boys to go straight into an Apollousa, which isn't a bad turn 1. It's not great, only having a 3200 attack Apollousa. That is, like, how many negates that is. But, yeah. It's not the greatest turn 1, because our opponent can just, you know, Kaiju us and, or remove us with Raigeki or something. It doesn't... It's a bit rough. This guy was playing some weird-ass deck. I don't know what this guy was playing. Some kind of Crusadia deck? I've never seen this before, so it's kind of a new experience for me. What I know is he summons a bunch of things that have like 1 trillion attack. And apparently with the field spell he could have attacked all monsters I control, so thankfully I only control 1 monster, otherwise I'm pretty sure he would just OTK'd me. Alright. 62,000 attack monster? Oh, sorry, 6,200 attack. Draws a couple of cards, sets a card, and passes. Thankfully, hasn't destroyed our Numeron Network, so we can also special summon this dude, because I'm pretty sure that thing had a negation on it, I think? Had a negate on it of some sort, so we're going to tribute that with the Kaiju, get rid of it real quick, so it can't negate any of the stuff we try to use, like our Twin Twisters, which you use to remove the back row, remove the field spell, and summon out our 4 big boys. But once again, we actually didn't have enough to lethal him here, I'm pretty sure. Because he had too many walls in the way. So we can only do a little bit of damage, and then we're going to have to... Yeah, then we're going to have to special summon out something else. Once again, going for the Avramax. Unfortunately, our opponent has a Lightning Storm. But by this point, he's expended like all his resources, so he can't even lethal us, so we can just do it again next turn. We can do this 3 times a duel. This is why I recommend running as many copies of these as you can, so 3 copies of each of them. Because although you don't often get to go all 3 ways, like go all the way 3 times, it does happen, so I like to run a lot of them. So summon the 4 guys again, you can see it's knowing exactly what's about to happen. And that's going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's replays. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And hope to see you on the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.